Okay, hi guys. So you must excuse me today. I am trying out a new tripod and basically a new setup with my phone just to see if I can improve the video quality of it and just, the usual. But after you've done excusing me, welcome to the imperfect place. And there's just been something that was on my heart today. So today is a Saturday, and on Saturdays I have squash. And what happened was I was in squash and I found myself feeling feelings. I know, I'm not saying much, but it is. I found myself feeling feelings, and I was wondering, like, okay, where do I place these feelings? And then I just kind of kept trying to manage my feelings, trying to manage my thoughts, trying to actively redirect what I was feeling, what I was thinking. And then as I was finishing squash was over. I didn't put on my earphones, which is not something I normally do because I have like this meditative playlist that I have. And I just focused. I just didn't even focus. I just walked. I was walking slowly, not rushing anywhere, not running from anything, just slowly. And then I realized that I am terrified of being sad. I know it sounds weird, right? But I really am. I really am terrified of being sad. See, I was previously, I have had depressive episodes in my life. I've literally had extremely depressive episodes in my life where, if I'm being honest, there's certain chunks of my life that I can't remember, that I was like almost blacked out. Like, somebody will say something and then I will remember it, but it almost doesn't exist. It's almost like a little black hole. I can't say black hole. It's more like a room with no lights. Things are stored there. I just can't access them unless I know what I'm looking for. And when I do, I'm like, oh, wow, that happened. So I have been depressed. I have had depressive episodes, and I remember being depressed and going to the doctor and saying, look, doctor, there's a problem here, and being told like nothing, look, you don't fit the criteria. So after doing my own research, I self-diagnosed myself as a high-performing, somebody who has high-performing depression, which means that most days, if I'm very depressive, you might not be able to tell it from the outside, but if I tell you that I'm depressed, I am depressed. So that's just how it works, right? Mental health is just me. And I think one of the things about being told I wasn't depressed when I knew I was depressed and I was actually saying I need help, and people being like, well, you don't need help, it forced me to begin to be the final say in my mental health, or just how I feel, to really stick to my guns and find myself help and find myself resources when I need them, even if everyone else says I'm okay. If I know I'm not okay, then I'm not okay. But I think one of the things that came as a negative, and I hadn't realized, is that I don't know if it's social media, I don't know if it is cultural, I don't know what it is, but guys, I'm terrified of being sad, because I feel like every single time I am not happy, I almost automatically feel like I'm sad, and that's something that needs to be fixed. Like, oh my gosh, I'm sad, I'm depressed, that needs to be fixed. But today I found myself asking the question, like, people can't be happy 100% of the time. I just don't think it's human nature. I think that life is full of everything. It's full of balance and moderation and sadness, and then I just started asking, like, myself, like, what if I didn't just say I'm sad, and I explored what the feeling I was feeling is? So today, for example, after squash, I realized I wasn't sad, but I was feeling very pensive, very deep, and thought in a very analytical, deeply, kind of almost inward form of thinking that I was doing. And that's the word I want to use. I was pensive. So instead of just rubbing it off and saying I wasn't happy, therefore I was sad, therefore I was depressed, kind of like narrative that I kind of put myself on, is because, you see, everyone keeps talking about it, like, oh, you have to be happy, you have to be positive, you have to have positive thoughts. Sometimes my thoughts aren't positive. Sometimes my thoughts are, they're very negative, okay? Sometimes I am so grateful no one else can hear my thoughts. And sometimes I'm grateful that I don't keep every one of my thoughts, because, thoughts are cyclical. Not everything is permanent. We get to choose some of the things we choose. Now, before you send this off to somebody who you're like, look, I told you not to press, look, honestly, whether somebody is depressed or not is something that only that person and their doctor or whoever is their guiding health expert can say. But I am hoping that this starts a conversation about the whole, what does it actually mean when we come to people or we come into spaces and say we're sad, and to actually allow people to be sad. I recently had a situation where I was reaching out and saying, look, I'm feeling sad, and I feel like, for example, when it gets rainy and gloomy, especially when I wasn't expecting it, when things just don't, when very physical or very big shifts in my world happen, sometimes I do feel sad. And I think the word I used to that person, and I think this is my fault, I said I feel like I might have seasonal depression. But what if I'm just somebody who the rain invites me into a space where I am more thoughtful, more moody, more in my feelings, or more centered into an awareness of the undertones of my life? Because I feel like we forget that there is darkness and light. Without darkness, can light really exist? And if everything was light, we couldn't really totally have, the light experience we have now. There has light and there's shadows, and those things work together. It's about finding a balance, and for me that balance shifts and flows sometimes, but really coming to the point where I'm realizing that I am terrified of saying I'm sad. I'm not even terrified of saying I'm sad. I feel like I'm not even terrified of saying that I am sad. I have just gotten to a point where I don't have the vocabulary to explain some of the feelings that I feel. So today, as I was thinking about this, I came up with 2 words. I feel like pensive, very thoughtful, deeply looking inward. And the second one is melancholic. I'm gonna spell that in the bio. But it's like sometimes I just feel like that, and then sometimes I feel other feelings like homesickness, or maybe I feel inward looking, or I feel a pull to self-reflect, or I feel a need to look in. And the thing is, I feel so guilty for not always be happy all the time, and I feel like I've just been so focused. Like, guys, I have been working at this being happy thing, guys, working on keeping my social media positive, working on, I don't even watch news because I'm like, look, I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. Keeping my social media clean, keeping every element of myself clean and like positive, and sunshine and rainbows and love, and all of these things. But the truth is, my real life, some days I just gonna go fire. Sometimes it's just not working. Sometimes it's just one of those days, and I used to feel like if I have those days, I always feel like I judge myself so harshly, like, wow, you have failed. Wow, like, oh crap, you're gonna be depressed again. Oh my gosh. And there was this idea of pathologizing sadness. Like, there's this Japanese book. It's a book written by Westerners, but they were exploring the Japanese concept of ikigai. So ikigai, one of the old people said, life is not a problem to be solved. And I remember thinking, wow, that's deep. But I've been thinking about all the things that I constantly try fix. I try fix how I feel about things. I try not to get angry. But what if I stopped acting as if my emotions that were anything but happiness were a signal of an illness, instead of looking at them as signals to reflect internally and externally, because something might just be in the disturbance, right? Really beginning to come into myself, to give myself space to be allowed other things other than just being happy. Other feelings like anger, frustration, fatigue even. And I mean physical fatigue, but also like just an emotional fatigue. What if some days I'm just like, look, I can't. And to be okay in those spaces and not to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm sick, I need to get medicated, I need therapy, I need this, because at some point I cannot therapize away the human condition. I cannot medicate away the human condition, which is some days we don't have good feelings. Some days we are just frustrated. And some days we're sad. As banal and as overused as that word feels right now to me, sometimes we're just sad. And that does not always mean there is a deeply rooted thing that we need to analyze and to go under. But sometimes it just means things are happening and they are not making us happy, and we feel sad. That this sadness is not a permanent state of being, but a transitory plane of being. And just to accept that sometimes I'm gonna be sad, and I'm one of those people who advocate for positive thinking, and I think that your words matter and all of these things matter. But I'm wondering if we aren't overdoing it. And I think that's what I'm hoping to create for myself and for the people around me. A space to not always be happy, and for those other feelings other than happiness to be acceptable too. For it to be acceptable for you to actually be who you are and feel what you're feeling, and those feelings be justified and not need to be psychoanalyzed and broken down. And we can't go Freudian on everything. Like, everything isn't about your mom and everything isn't about your parents. Sometimes things happen and they warrant a certain reaction, and that reaction is appropriate even if that reaction is not happiness. So yeah, that's just where I am today. Like, today I just feel so strongly about this because I just feel like I want to be okay being sad. I know there's a difference between being sad momentarily and when it becomes depressive and we stay in those episodes for longer than we should. And if you are depressed, or if you think you might be depressed, reach out and get professional help. I really think it's important. Talk to your somebody who's equipped to help you through what it is that you're going through. But the truth, and for the other people, and you just think like, okay, maybe I'm just sad. It's okay to just be sad. It doesn't have to be that big a deal, and you don't have to feel like there has to be a big story or big backstory for your sadness or your non-happy feelings to be justified. Sometimes they just are. And that's just what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, and to just put out there to say, like, sometimes we need to get away with toxic positivity and really begin to have language around what sadness is, and also to really deeply explore within ourselves our different kinds of sadness. Anyway, I feel like I've rambled longer than I thought I was going to. I just really wanted to say this because it's really on my heart in this very moment. It's exactly what I'm going through right now, and I'm thinking about it. And as I was talking, I was exploring more for myself and for you guys. Thank you to everyone who listens and watches and shares these videos. I appreciate you guys, and I hope that this is helpful for you. And I really hope you and I can start a conversation about this topic. Like, let's talk about it. It's important. Anyway, stay beautiful, stay blessed, and as usual, I'll see you next time. Stay imperfectly perfect.